Hi, Sarah here. I'm just going to be talking about the basic techniques of amigurumi crochet. Very popular with making toys, of course. So as you can see, I've got a little array of some of my little items. I've got a little bunny there. There's my Octopudding, hence the name of the show. He's my little mascot. We have Ernest here, who was actually a drawing my daughter did. She did me some designs for some various bits and pieces for the conventions we did, and I turned a couple of them into crochet, so I was really pleased with him. Then we have maybe a little cupcake, more octopus, and we have some of my smaller pieces here. Now this is one of the reasons I wanted to get into doing the amigurumi crochet, because I do work with a lot of miniature pieces. We've got a little burger there. That's quite cute. Now there are a lot of people out there that work even smaller than this. I am in such admiration because that is so difficult. This is quite an easy sort of level to work out when you've been doing it for a little while. You need some practice first, because that is on a 1mm crochet hook and using a crochet yarn. I've knocked that twice now. I'm going to stop doing that. I knocked it off earlier when I did a doll video completely, so that wasn't very helpful. So I'll move that to one side. I'm just going to use a 4mm hook, and I've just got some cheap variegated yarn. Nothing special, just basic yarn. So I'll get it into position. Now, as I say, I'm only going to be talking about the basics of this. This is not a class on how to make an object. But one of the easiest things you can make, especially if you've got pets, is a pet toy. Now, I made some catnip toys, which was great, because you put a little bit of the stuff in, a little bit of catnip in, and you just make a round ball, and it's just a start to get you into doing it. The dog likes them as well, but the only thing is it makes an awful noise when the dog chews them, because when her teeth goes through the wool, oh, it just goes through you. So, I've done a slip stitch onto my hook. I'm going to do 2 chain. Some people do prefer to do the magic loop. It's not something I've ever got on with, so this is just the system I follow. And in my patterns I write, nearly every amigurumi piece starts with 2 chain. And also the next piece, unless it's something very small, I would start with is 6 double crochets into the first chain. This being the first chain. So remember, double crochet in, pull it through, 2 on the hook, pull it through again. And we're going to do that 6 times. 3, 4, 5 and 6. Don't worry if it's gone a bit loose, we just tighten up that slip knot and it'll tighten it up. Now we should have 6. If you're not sure, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's where my first stitch is going to go. I'm not doing a slip stitch join. I'm not going to do a chain up before we go round. I'm just going to go straight in to that 6th one, and I'm going to do 2 double crochets. So we've got 1, we've got 2, so 2 in each. So obviously we started with 6, if we could have 2 in each of those 6, we've now got 12. Never thought maths had come much into my life when I was at school, but when you're actually pattern designing, it does actually come in very handy, although the calculator on my phone does help sometimes when it gets to bigger items. Also, if you're like me, you talk too much, you lose count on how many you've got. I always count from this end, not from this side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that means I need 1 more increase. This is as hard as an increase in amigurumi goes. Just 2 stitches in 1 hole. Now, I'm not going to place a marker yet because I know there's 24 there and I can usually manage that. 24, there's not. You see, I'm just saying I know, didn't use maths at school. There's 12 because we went 2 into each of 6. Now I'm going to go into 2 in each of those 12. So then we'll have 24. That's usual, my brain's always working 1 step ahead. So that's 2, 3, I've not slip stitch joined, I've not joined and then chained, I've just carried on straight into that next stitch. It works on more of a spiral basis than a circular basis. A lot of traditional crochet does the stop start. You get round, you stop, you slip stitch join, you chain up, you go on to your second round. That is necessary sometimes. But with amigurumi, it's predominantly spiral, which is lovely because you never actually get any joins. So it does actually make the work look quite neat. The only thing is, you never know whether you started and finished. So I'm just going to stop there because I'm talking and just double check. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 21, 22, 23. So I know I've got one more. So if you do lose count, most patterns will say what you've got to do, and then in brackets it'll say, so 24 in this case. So it's telling me I need 24 stitches, so I can just double check. Now the other option here is you can either use a stitch marker, or let me just grab a little piece of yarn, something I've been working on earlier, or a spare bit of yarn. If it's a smaller item, a spare bit of yarn works a little bit better. So what I'm going to do is push my hook through. Oh, I'll try. And I'm going to grab this piece of yarn. I should have done it a little bit longer. And pull it through. That has become my stitch marker. Watch for them falling out though, because the stitch marker will clip in and it'll stay there. But unfortunately, the wool won't. Now, I'm not going to go any bigger on this because I'm only showing you how to increase and decrease, and I just want to make a little ball just to show you how it works. Quite often on the next pattern it might say increase by 2 in 1 on the next one, and then it might tell you to do a single stitch. So just read your pattern carefully. So it might just be 2 in 1, 1 in the next one, which gives you an increase all the way round, but everyone will be different, so I can't really tell you what that is. But what I am going to do now is I'm just going to do a double crochet into every single stitch. Now hopefully you haven't been doing lots of trebles recently, so you'll be able to just do these double crochets. If I've been doing a lot of trebles, I do have a tendency to wrap the yarn again and try and do a treble. Remember, we're in a double crochet. And also please remember these are UK terms. I will put in a difference between the UK and the US because there are a lot of beautiful patterns out there, but quite often I found a lot of them have been American, so you do need to be careful on that. Otherwise you'll get not a totally different shape, but it'll be a lot smaller or a lot larger depending on what it is. So all I'm doing, remember, no wrapping, pull it through, 2 on the hook, pull it through 2, through, 2 on the hook, pull it through 2. If you have been doing a lot of treble work and you've just forgotten a little bit, pop back to my double crochet tutorial and it will actually remind you just how you do it in a couple of seconds. That's all you'd probably need. All right, so that's gone round 1. You see I've actually just gone past my marker. I should have stopped there, but I'm not having to slip stitch join. I'm just carrying on round. It's just spiral all the way around, because I love the fact that we don't get any join lines. It just looks so much neater, especially when you're doing toys. The only thing is you just have to keep an eye on where you stopped and started. Right, here we go. But you can already see this is curving round like a little basket. I also do a lot of my hats on this basis as well, which is another thing you can do if you do have dolls. Now this would be quite a small doll head, as you can see as it's coming round. But basically you just make sure you increase enough for the top of the head, and then you go on to double crochets. Again, some of that's, you know, I can make a hat and it's wrong first 3 times even, just to get the measurements right, but that's just practice. So we're starting to turn round. Now I've actually got my Cindy here and she's got a hat on because I've started a reroute, and bless her, she's not got too much there yet. It is going to look quite nice, I'm quite pleased. So she's been wearing this little hat to keep her head covered. It's just a little cloche hat, just a very basic little hat. Now if we look at the top of her hat, it works on the same system. So I've just done the 3, 2 in each, 2 in each, and then I have got a little bit more of an increase, but then I've just done straight rows until I got the length that I wanted to. So it's a similar system. Most things are that are like that for amigurumi. In fact, if you look in the top of my little octopus, again, the same spiral, gone down so many rows, and then we've got the decrease, which is what I'm going to show you in a second. That's why I'm not making an exact shape or anything. I'm just showing how you can actually work on this. Even though this is a cheap wool, it's quite pretty actually. Love, love, love variegated yarns. I'm inclined to get bored very easy, and it sort of breaks it up when I'm watching something. Oh look, next colour. I'm very easily distracted. Right, we're nearly round again. Now the other thing with the stitch marker, please move it up every 3-ish rounds. Because it's spiral, you start position changes. As mad as that seems, in fact, if you left your stitch marker in and maybe put 2 in, and you could see where your first one was and where your last one was, you would realise that. So I'm going to stop roughly where my stitch marker is. I'm going to pop my hook in and I'm going to move it up. Let's say if it's a bigger piece you're on, a proper stitch marker will hold in better. But if you're doing it very tiny, you do need something. I mean, if you're really quiet, you can count. But if you don't have that luxury of being in a very quiet environment, it's handy to have it. There we go. Almost there. Like I say, all I'm going to deal with next is decreasing. Decreasing, again, like increasing, is so simple when you get the idea of it. So we've already dealt increasing is just basically 2 stitches in 1 hole. That's all it is. Just a double crochet in this case into 2 holes. But it's not just for amigurumi though, that's any increasing. If you were doing trebles, you would be doing, if it was a treble increase, it would be 2 trebles into 1 hole. That's it. There is nothing more technical about it than that. So I'm going to say I've done for my DC rounds. You can see how it's forming a little basket. You see its little shape coming? So it's like the top of a ball, top of the head of a bunny, a hat, pet toy. It can be all sorts, depending on the pattern, but nearly all patterns will start like that. Now, for decrease, I'm going to go in and start with a double crochet, but I'm not going to finish it. I'm not going to pull the yarn through those 2. I'm going to go into the next stitch and pull it through again. So I've got 3 now. Then I'll pull through all 3. That's 2 together. I'm just going to do 1 in between because it's a little bit too much to 2 side by side at this point. So I go in, pull it through. I have 2. I don't finish the stitch, so I don't grab this to pull through. I go into the next one and pull it through. So I end up with 3. I'm going to pull through all 3. I'm just going to do a single stitch in between them. So we go in like a double crochet, we pull it through, we have 2, but we don't complete the stitch. We go into the next one, we pull it through, we have 3, we pull it through. I'm just going to do a single stitch, so I'll do that a little bit quicker. That is all a decrease is. You don't complete the double crochet, you just do a partial stitch, you do a partial one in the next one and pull them both through together. There we go, another one. There are some systems that will tell you to skip a stitch. So for example, you might do one and then we might miss this one and go into the next one. You don't see that much in British patterns, but it is a method that is used. So you will see it, so don't panic if it's a different system. Just go with whatever the pattern suggests and see which works for you. If you don't like it, maybe come back to this system. I don't know. Everyone's different. So there we go, I'm back. Now can you see we're starting to curl back in now? So it's starting to turn into a little ball. So I'm going to speed it up even more, and now we're going to do just every single stitch is going to be 2 together. So I'm going to get rid of that, we don't need it, because I'm just going to be working round. So 2 together, 2 together. You see how fast this starts to come in. Now this is a 4mm hook. I find it leaves not holes, that's the wrong thing because it makes it sound like there's something wrong with it. It's a little bit more gappy when you're using this sort of yarn. I would prefer to use a 3.5mm hook because it would make it a lot neater. So I'm just going to do one more. I'm not worrying where I started and where I finished because all I'm actually attempting to do is close this hole up, which it's doing. Now before I go any further, I'm just going to shove that little end in there, make sure it's tight before you let it go, but I think that's all right. And I'm just going to add some stuff in, because the other thing with amigurumi is it sort of self-seals. So there's no sewing up of the ball. So I'm just going to shove a bit of stuffing in, so you can see, got a nice little ball shape. And then I'm just going to continue to double crochet together. So it's 2 stitches together in every stitch. So we're really nearly there. Now the thing is, as I say, most amigurumi does do a ball shape, is the basis. There are other shapes there as well, but as soon as you've got the idea of a decrease and an increase, you can play about and make different shapes yourself, and you don't get the stuff in like I've just got there. Right, nearly there. This end is usually a little bit looser anyway than the top end, so I'm just going to make that my last stitch. So I'm just going to snip and pull it in. So as you can see, we have, give it a little roll, a little ball. Now, if I take my little bunny, for example, he's basically just two balls, one on top of the other. But always use that start bit as your neatest bit. So I would then, if I did two, I would put those two ends together, the sort of finish ends, and then just stitch them round together, and always keep the best ends for what is more visible. So that's as simple as it gets. They do just circle, circle, circle. This little guy is just a little ball. We do have an oval here. That just comes down to doing more double crochets in the centre, but the decrease and the increase is the same. His little legs work on that same system. Look at that, it's got an old label on. That's what it used to be called, MDZ Crafting. But I'm octopudding now, hence my little octopus, wherever he has gone, there he is. So thank you very much for watching. Any questions at all regarding this amigurumi system, give me a shout. I'm hoping to do a little few projects at some point. My concern is finding something that doesn't take too long. That's the only problem. I want to find something quick that I can show to yourself and you can have a little go at. So hope to see you again. Please subscribe, like and share if you like what I've done. Any comments, always welcome. Love to hear from people. Any suggestions, anything that you think I could have perhaps done it differently. We're always learning, so please let me know and hope to hear from you soon. Bye.